Okay.
Okay. We'll have the clerk take the roll call.
Thank you. Mr. Antono?
Here.
Mr. Druzwicki?
Here.
Mr. Boomerang?
Here.
Mr. Sharp?
Here.
And Mr. Azure?
Here.
Okay. We have all 5 members present, and we are going to be voting voice vote today, so, and I'll be recording that. Okay, so now I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda for today.
So moved.
And a second? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from June 2022.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Let me just say before we begin, I just want to introduce everyone in the room. So I am Celestine Jeffries, I'm the city clerk. We are joined by Lacey Cochart, deputy city attorney. We're also joined by the assessor staff. And you should tell so that I'm not challenged throughout a lot of coffee. Nicole Tash?
Alex Cruz. Matt Johnson.
And then we are joined, thank you so much. We are also joined on Zoom by the assessor, Rush Schwant. And we have also on Zoom Diana Ellenbecker, who is the finance director for the city of Green Bay. Now, we need to elect a chairperson and vice chairperson for this board of review. So I'll entertain a motion, a nomination for chairperson.
Motion for.
Okay, a
Second.
motion to elect Tom as the chairperson in a second.
Second.
And a second by Mr. Blumerick. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Tom is running the meeting. Go ahead.
Okay, we now will entertain a motion for vice chairman.
I would nominate Ron. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Okay, we'll now hear from the city attorney's office on the various waivers. Okay,
We're gonna do the policies.
policies too,
Yes.
yeah.
Do this first. So 2 items, we're under item F, just for reference in the agenda. We have 2 policies for consideration for the board. The first is board review for waiver of a hearing. This permits the board to waive a hearing for property owner that will afford the property owner the right to file in circuit court within 90 days. The policy was in the packet
Okay.
for review. We'll need a motion to adopt.
Do I hear a motion to adopt the waiver of hearing?
Clarification on that. What does it specifically permit? How does it relate to us and the property owner?
Okay, if the property owner did not meet the requirements for the hearing, yet they would like to make a presentation, they will come before us and give reasons why they could not meet the requirements under law. We then vote on whether, yes? What's that?
If I'm not mistaken, the waiver.
Oh, okay, going to circuit court, yeah, I'm sorry.
I think that's what I said. Okay.
Yeah, what you said, I
Okay.
misinterpreted,
I
yeah.
apologize.
Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, then on that, we just, he presents to us which ones are gonna be waived into circuit court, and we just vote on it, whether we approve that or not. We could hear it, I mean, we could actually hear it, but, they're gonna go to circuit court anyway, so we just vote and waive it over.
Yes,
Yeah, motion to
the
adopt.
policy.
I so moved.
All in favor? Aye. Okay,
All right, the second policy for consideration is simply the procedure that allows for sworn telephone or written testimony requests, of which I'm not sure we'll have today, but if we do, there's.
someone is via
Okay,
Zoom,
great.
then they
So,
would be-
and just for clarification, we're treating Zoom as the same as telephone testimony. So again, just a policy that allows for the board to take testimony through phone, Zoom, or written, in writing. Again, it's a motion to adopt.
all in favor? Aye. Okay. Okay, statement from the clerk?
Okay, so thank you very much, Chairperson. We do have a member, Jesse Sharp, who took the mandatory training. The law requires that at least one member annually take the mandatory training. Jesse Sharp has done that, and he's also signed his affidavit attesting to that.
Okay.
We also have an ordinance, which is in the packet, which governs the confidentiality of income and expense information. That is duly adopted and included in the packet. And then the percentage of assessments. Yes. There isn't, okay.
So we can-
Did we do this in Sun Live? Did we
Yeah,
do
I
that?
think there's no audio coming into Zoom, you mean?
I think we could do it,
Hear them right there, right? Yeah.
because we didn't change the agenda.
Yeah.
We just have it duplicative later.
Yeah.
That's fine. We can hear them all.
Okay. The people in Zoom, can someone unmute themselves and let me know if you can hear us? Evidently not. I'm hoping that, I don't think I have to do that in here. Yeah, Diana, can you ask Mike to come down? Since I haven't run this all by myself for a very long time. All right, let's just let's just pause for a moment so we can make sure that the people in Zoom can hear us. Yes?
I think you actually got to just click
Yeah, I don't,
the up arrow, but the actual button.
I'm not, just give me 1 second. I'm not sure, because in council chamber it's a little different than a regular Zoom meeting. Send live. Speaker. Okay. I don't know why they can't hear. So we're gonna wait for IT to come down and give me some assistance.
Clerk Jeffries,
Yes?
I believe we can now hear you.
Oh, okay.
Great.
All right. Thank you.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Okay. All righty. So, percentage of assessments. Yeah. Russ, if you can unmute yourself. We're discussing the percentage of assessments.
Right, I saw that underneath your information. I thought that was something you were discussing, because I was gonna put that in with the information I was discussing under the annual report.
So since it's on the agenda, why don't you go ahead and address that now?
Okay, currently with the revaluation, we're sitting at roughly 96% with our 2022 assessments. That's based on the 2021 sales versus our 2022 assessments as required by law.
Okay, thank
That's
you.
all I had on it.
Okay, thank you. Mr.
Next of, discussion of the annual assessment report. Is that you, Russ?
That's me, yep.
Okay,
Okay. Okay, we did the revaluation. As everyone knows, it's the first one we've done since 2004. So as far as a breakdown goes, the increase for residential was almost $2 billion, for an increase of almost 45%. Commercial went up a little over 400 million for an increase of almost 23%. And overall, $2.2 billion for an increase of almost 38%. And that increase includes all due to revaluations and new construction. For residential net new construction, we had about 25 million. Commercial net new construction, we had a little over 20 million. We did a trending analysis as far as sales go from 2017 through 2021 to see what the average sale price was for residential property for the last 5 years, to see how the market's changing, so that everybody has a rough idea why we had to do the revaluation when we did it. 2017, the average home price was 148.8. 2018, it was 161,000 for an 8% increase. 2019, it was 173,000 for an increase of 7.5%. This is year-over-year increases. 2020, the price was 192,300 for an increase of 11%. And 2021, the average residential price was 215,800 roughly, for an increase of 12% year over year. So from 2017 to 2021, we're looking at from 148.8 to 215.8. That's a huge increase, and that's the reason why we had to do the revaluation. As far as our open book goes, open book started right after we sent out notices. So it wasn't officially open until early in October, but we were fielding calls, right after the notices went out. We had roughly 1,200 calls and emails handled by the office. We made changes when we got new information that we didn't have previously, as far as condition ratings, things that happened to the properties that we weren't aware of. In that amount, there were roughly 739 changes out of the 33,405 parcels we got. So with the 1,200 calls and emails that we received, that's roughly 3.6% contacts out of that total of 33,405 parcels. In a normal revaluation, you can estimate you usually have contact with about 10% of the property owners. So we had about a third of that, which is, I think, amazing because of all the information that we had put out there. People are, I think, a little bit more aware of what's going on with property values because it's been in the news quite a bit, and people have seen what houses are selling for. as you can see from the previous 5 years, house prices are just skyrocketing. And we have not seen that change in 2022. The rates have still increased. I know everybody's talking about there's going to be a crash coming, but 2022 sales are still strong, and that's what we're basing the 2023 values on. I mean, we're not foreseeing any big crash coming. We'll see what the Fed does with interest rates, but if that does happen, we plan on doing revaluations on a regular basis going forward, like every 5 or 6 years. So that's something we're keeping in mind so that there isn't such a big increase in values or a change in values over the next revaluation. So is there any questions from the group on that?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have examination of the assessment role and performance of statutory duties. Is that you again, Russ?
No, that's actually you guys get to go look at the roll and
Oh,
make
yeah.
sure that there aren't any errors there, Mr. Chairman. So have a look.
Did anybody go look at the, you have them? Okay.
We have it here.
Oh, you did?
You did, good, okay. Everything looked at,
There's no mistakes, but
okay,
270.
okay. All right, that's been done. We're gonna, right now, we'll consider any waivers that we may have. If there's anyone here who did not make the statutory requirement of filing an objection that would like to, we have some.
Mr. Chair, the first one would be for anyone who received an objection, but the objection was
Oh, yeah,
received
that's right.
late.
Received an
So we have an
objection.
objection, but it was within the 40, or it was received late.
Okay.
So those are the first ones, waivers
Yeah.
of the required 48-hour notice of intent to file,
Okay.
but we have the objection. And then we'll move on to
Any of
waiver
the
of
other
the
ones?
hearing,
Okay.
and then any testimony.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, we have 2 residential properties that submitted objections outside the 48 hours.
Okay.
1 commercial property, and then we do have another residential property who submitted just today.
Okay.
So, how would you like to hear these?
Let's take the residential first.
Okay. So, 1108 Shadow Lane, the Koenigs.
Come on, please come up, sir.
You can actually come here to this podium. Yes.
We'll have the clerk swear you in.
Okay, raise your right hand. Today, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? So help you God?
Yes, we do.
Okay, we're not going to hear why you object to the assessed value. We're only going to hear why you didn't meet the requirements under the law of filing within 48 hours of this hearing. So please state your name, spell it, and your address, if you would, for us.
Okay, I am Bonnie Koenig, B-O-N-N-I-E, Koenig, K-O-E-N-I-G, and address, you said?
Yes.
2509 Wisconsin Avenue, New, N-E-W, Holstein, H-O-L-S-T-E-I-N, and that's in Wisconsin, and the zip is 53061.
Okay. And now, please tell us why you did not make the statutory requirement 48 hours before this hearing.
Yeah, we, just in our lives and in our daughter's lives, we've been going through a lot of hardships. We live in Holstein, and we've been having to devote a lot of time to our granddaughters and have to spur of the moment sometimes go there, so a lot of our time's been impacted that way. We do have obligations to the community that we do volunteer work and help with that, and a lot of times we were on call with that and busy, and just our priorities were what was set ahead before this. Plus, we're very small town, low-key, not very technically good people, so we don't have a computer or any kind of way to access this. So the way things are going in our lives, it's honestly, it's, right now, we're working on things that, like, from 3 years back. It's like everything just changes and changes, and so we tried our best. We did use the public library eventually. We did use the library to help us out with this. And, but not to make excuses, but honestly, our lives have just not been our own, and very hard for us to keep on top of things. And all we can do from day to day is just prioritize from that day. And unfortunately, we tried our best to get it in, but we had to wait till the library opened, and they didn't open till 10, and this needed to be in by 9. And but again, we tried our best, but again, we don't have a computer at home, or I don't know if my husband's had anything to add, but we're just very.
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is David Koenig, David Koenig, same address, same city. And we did contact our alderman over a week ago to have him help with this process and get us going. And he was very helpful, and he tried his best, but he's a very busy man also. And he, although we did leave voicemails and things, his schedule prohibited him from getting back to us. And it's amazing how fast time flies, and I can attest to that. But we did try our best to make the deadline, and unfortunately, we weren't able to.
Did you contact the assessor's office at all?
I did, and I spoke to, I believe he's here, I spoke with Alex Drews.
And did they make any did they make any adjustments or anything?
To our
Assessed value?
No, he did offer us the opportunity to go through the house again to see if there was some adjustment that could be made. But again, that was just the end of last week, so I don't know how feasible that would have been for anybody to make an adjustment on that at that point.
When did you get your notice from the assessor's office on the assessment?
I'm not 100% sure. I would say probably the end of September.
Okay.
And
when did you start working on this?
probably 2 weeks ago, that we tried to just kind of put grasp on what's happening, and then just kind of did some mathematics on our own and tried to see. And then we actually started making some calls to people last week, and they did offer us advice and offer us, next contact. But unfortunately, so much was this web address, or this, or that, and we just couldn't do that. So then, using other information that people were giving us, well, you could call this person, you could call that person, and that's what I've been working on, is calling. And everybody was respectful enough to get back to us. But like my husband said, the alderman, he was very busy, children that had this or that, and we could relate. We could relate to his schedule, so we didn't hold anything against him. It's just, unfortunately, we are these type of people that I'll call, if there's anything that's got a number connected to it, I'll call, and the first thing I'll do is I'll thank them that they have a phone number, because in this day and age, we're getting hit smack in the face with realizing just how us being small town and low tech people, how this has impacted us at this point.
Do any of the other Board of Review members have any questions? Okay.
Comment, I mean, if the assessor, the staff was billable and reached properly and right away, expect. It sounded like they were,
Yes.
But they were accessible to tell us that was the numbers, to give us the information that was here, that you need to contact this or this website or this or that. Mr. Drews did give us Celestine to contact, and I think that was probably the most help that we could get to advance to knowing what avenue we could take to be able to present this information. And, you know, anybody here that has spoken with us would know we tried our best, and we tried over and over, and we tried whatever avenue was available to us. But like I said, when we did contact them, they gave us what most people probably do use, like the website or this, but again, it didn't help us, so we asked, well, we can't do this, now what can we do? And then they gave us our alderman, and then we went to him, and then as we never left at rest, once we started getting some avenues that we could go down.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, I would, if we want to hear their objection, we'd have to waive the requirements under the statutory law. So I'll entertain a motion to waive. Okay, I'm sorry, you want to say something? You may.
Okay, I guess my comment would be that all the notices have the requirements and the instructions for contacting the clerk's office to appear at the board of review. That's on the notice. Those notices were mailed out September 16th. So every property owner has roughly 4 to 5 weeks to contact the clerk's office, which it says right on the notice, to contact the clerk's office to make an appointment for the board of review. Contacting your alderman is not on there. Contacting the clerk's office is on the notice. To say that they got the runaround and everything else as far as going to different websites, when Mr. Drews actually told them to contact the clerk's office to schedule an appointment. They did not do this. So if we go around and give them a waiver for not following the proper rules, we're going down a slippery slope where that, I guess, if you don't follow the rules and you claim ignorance or whatever, then we're just opening the door up that anybody can walk in at any time for any reason to file an objection, and we'll have board review year round. So you have to follow the law as it is written, file within that 48-hour time frame, unless there's a reason that you can't. I have not heard any reason why they couldn't file with the clerk. It's just making a phone call saying to the clerk, I want to file an objection. The forms are available in a library, they're online. They could walk in, they could call. They did not do any of this. So I'm not sure why there would be any reason to grant them a waiver. I guess that's all I have to say, unless there's any questions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll entertain, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Assessor Schwant. I just want to add that a lot of the forms that we have for the clerk's office, which would include Board of Review, are online. Obviously, because we are, one of our big functions is to manage elections and licenses, and we understand that not everyone has access to computers, and so we're always happy to send forms to people. I did hear from the Koenigs on Monday. We did walk through how they could submit the form. They did have to go to their local library in order to do that and to fax it to us. So I did work with them. It was later than was necessary. Had they gotten in touch with me the week before, I absolutely would have sent them the forms in the mail.
Okay, thank you. I'll entertain a motion for waiver.
I just want to say something. I apologize if we insinuated that we
We didn't.
got a runaround from anyone.
never said that.
Because we never said that. We never got a runaround. Everybody was very helpful. But from the time that we contacted our alderman and got the information as to what to do, it was constant communication from one person to another, giving the time constraints that they had. So again, I apologize if anyone in this room or online thought that we said that we were getting the runaround from anyone, because that's not the case.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
Could I
do we
just-
have a motion for waiver?
So moved.
You want to waive the,
Yes.
okay, do we have a second?
It's a motion to grant or deny, just for
This is a
clarification.
motion to
Grant.
To grant the
grant,
waiver.
grant a waiver. Okay, we don't have a second, so therefore the motion did not pass. So thank you very much. We will not hear your objection.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. The next person is the person who owns 3374 Wiggins. I believe that is also a residential parcel.
Okay?
3374 Wiggins. Mr. Brame?
Would the clerk swear the witness in?
Yes. Doing too many things at once.
Yep.
Please raise your right hand, Mr. Brame. Do you swear that today the evidence you're going to give is the truth, and in this action you will be truthful and adhere to that, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you.
Would you state your full name, spell your last name, and your address, please?
My full name is Dennis Brame. Last name is spelled B-R-E-H-M. My property is 3374, 3376 in Wiggins Way.
Thank you. Now, you realize that the only testimony you'll be providing right now is your reasons for not meeting the statutory 48-hour requirement for written notice of this hearing, right, to appear in this hearing?
Sure.
Okay?
All right. Well, this here, for some reason or another, has fallen, what should I say, has fallen out of the focus of the clerk. I have documentation here. I started this way back. I started actually emailing on October 13th. I have documentation here. If you want to see that documentation, where I have sent my emails to the clerk's office. And with that, I then found the form for the objection, which I filled out on October 13th, and had sent that to the clerk's office.
Excuse me, Mr. Brame, this is my mistake. Mr. Chairperson, the assessor, Nicole Tesh, just reminded me that we did receive yours on October 13th. My mistake. Lots going on in my office. So Mr. Brame is actually within the 48-hour
Okay.
time period. So your oath is good
You're
for the
okay.
next time, so I'm so sorry, forgive me.
You're A-okay.
Yes. Have a seat, so sorry. Yeah. Okay. And the last one is 1562 Velp, and that parcel number is 6-42A.
Okay. With the representative, is there a
I think
representative
he's
here? for-
online.
Oh, online, okay. No, you gotta do a telephone.
The person who is here for 1562 Velp, 6-42-A. Oh, thank you. Mr. Arnaud, are you that person?
I am.
Okay, thank you. So I see your picture. If you would just raise your right hand and affirm, okay, thank you so much. To affirm that the testimony you will give today, the evidence that you will provide is truthful to the best of your knowledge, and you swear so, so help you God.
I do.
Okay, would you please state your name, spell your last name, and give us your address?
Thomas Arnott, A-R-N-O-T. And the address is, I'm appearing for is the VELP address. Do you want my
No,
my
Velp's
resident
fine.
address? I'm a resident of Florida.
Velp address is fine.
It's the 1615 or 1516 Velp Avenue.
Okay. The first thing we have to do is vote on a waiver for telephone presentation, since he's not here and Zoom is considered telephone presentation. So I would entertain a motion to approve the waiver for his testimony. First of all, I guess we'll, by telephone.
Did we not do that on F2?
That we adopted the policy, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we just
Sorry, Mr.
adopted the
Chair.
policy, but we got to vote on each incident.
Oh, sorry.
Okay,
Second.
do we have a second? Would the clerk call the roll?
Yes, I certainly will. Just give me a moment. So the person who made the motion was Mr. Driswicki, and seconded by Mr. Blumreich?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Azure?
Yes.
Mr. Antino?
Aye.
Mr. Driswicki?
Aye.
Mr. Sharp? And Mr. Blumreich?
Aye.
Thank you. That is passed on a
Okay.
voice vote, or roll call.
Okay, sir, now you may present your testimony as why you missed the 48-hour requirement for filing before, 48 hours before the board of review.
Sure. Correcting the address, it's 1562 Velp.
Okay.
So when I did receive the notice of reassessment. I purchased the property on April 29th, 2022 for $265,000. I contacted the assessor's office to understand why the assessment proposal was over double what I purchased the price for a few months earlier. And we discussed the need to acquire an environmental assessment to validate that there was contamination on the site. I said I would not be able to get an environmental assessment performed in that timeframe, and asked if I was able to get a service agreement with one of the local environmental studies groups. Would that justify a reduction in the assessment? And the assessor I spoke with said it would. He did not quantify what reduction it would be. I was unable to get a signed service agreement until October 17th. And within minutes of receiving that agreement, I signed it, returned it to Bay Environmental, and sent it off to the assessor. And on the morning of the 18th at 9:17 a.m., I received a minor reduction to $495,200, and immediately made the request for the board review. However, when I made that request, I was at 9:17, or we were too late. We were within the 48 hours at that time. So I did not receive notice of what the amended assessment of the assessor would be until within the 48 hours.
Okay, thank you. Russ, or would you like to comment?
Yes, I could comment on that. Scott is the one in my office that did the contact with Mr. Arnott. He asked for the documentation, and it wasn't supplied. I understand the timing, but it wasn't supplied to Scott until 4:20 p.m. on the 17th. So it wasn't like he had time to review it until the 18th. So it wasn't a matter of Scott holding on to it and waiting for a time period. Property owners always have that right to appeal and file an objection, and then they can always pull the objection if they get a reduction that's to their satisfaction. As attorneys, should be well aware of that. So to say that they're waiting to hear from them and then didn't get what they wanted and then filed, I guess I don't understand quite how that works, but in this case, I would again urge the board not to waive because, again, we're within that 48-hour time. I don't see any circumstances that would have prevented taxpayers from filing an objection when they had plenty of time to do so. Like I said, all the notices went out September 16th. They had plenty of time to file. If they felt that the assessment was too high, which it sounds as if they do, in the meantime, if they were working with the assessment's office, you can always preserve your right to appeal by filing an objection form and withdrawing it if you get an adjustment that meets your requirements. I don't know if Scott has anything else to add to that, but that's pretty much all I have to say.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions of the objector or the assessor? Okay, I would entertain a motion to waive the,
It's a grant or deny the waiver.
yeah, grant to waive testimony. We have any? Nope, no second? Okay. The motion, there's no.
Motion to deny.
Deny.
There's none.
Okay, do we have a motion to deny waiver?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Would the clerk call the roll?
Absolutely. So I have a motion and a second by Mr. Sharp and Mr. Blumreich. Mr. Azure?
Yay.
Mr. Antono?
Aye.
Mr. Driswicky?
Aye.
Mr. Sharp?
Aye.
Mr. Blumreich?
Aye.
All right, that passes 5-0.
Okay. Do we have any more now? Is that the end of the?
That is the end of the ones.
Ones,
There was a
okay.
gentleman here, but he has withdrawn his objection.
So next would be any waivers, request for waiver of the board review hearing, allowing the property owner an appeal directly to the circuit court. Since we're on our list.
We're
of
gonna do
waivers.
the one
We're doing-
to
we're
circuit
doing
court?
all- Yeah.
Yeah,
Because the
okay.
waivers all have to be done within the first 2 hours.
Okay. We'll now hear the waivers, any waivers to circuit court? Russ?
At this point, we have the properties that I think, do we have a list of them?
Are you looking for the parcel numbers, Assessor Schwant?
I think Nicole has a list of them for you.
The Walmart?
Yes.
Wal-
We were both requesting.
Watermark?
Oh, you're both requesting the waiver?
Correct. It's same list of
Yes.
parcels.
Okay, so yeah, I have these. Okay, so these are the properties, these were submitted by, Mr. Chad Zisnansky, and we have, the parcel numbers 12-365, 12-366, 12-368, 12-369, 12-371, 12-372, 12-373, 12-374, and 12-375. So the Board of Review members, these are the ones that are the watermark. I think it says FE watermark in your packet, and they're all at Washington Street.
But we've been in discussions and feel that it's best that we waive this through the circuit court to continue discussion because of the timing. So we have agreed along with the appellant that it would be best that it not be here and move directly to circuit court.
Okay, thank you. I would entertain a motion from the board to approve waiver of these partials to circuit court.
So move.
Second.
Would the clerk call the roll?
Yes, thank you. So I have a first and a second from Mr. Blumerick and Mr. Antono. Mr. Azure?
Yes.
Mr. Antono?
Aye.
Mr. Druzbicki?
Aye.
Mr. Sharp?
Aye.
Mr. Blumerick?
Aye.
That passes 5-0.
Okay.
I'm pronouncing your last name incorrectly.
It's
Am-
fine.
am I-
Azure.
Azure.
French name, but it should be Azier.
Thank you, Mr. Azure. That passes 5-0.
Okay, I believe that, do
Any other-
we have anything else before
And
we
then,
start?
yes, we do have, so in that, we're at the examination of the roll. We have the consideration waiver request because we're still on, item I. And the next is the examination of the roll. That's what I have there on the agenda, which I think we've already done.
I think we've done that.
Yes.
Yes?
Okay, and then the next is consideration of hearings, which is, that would be the remaining hearings we have, which are for 132 Blythe, Lowell Drive, Wiggins Way, and the properties from E&P Properties. Those are the ones that are remaining.
Okay, well, let's call the first, everybody's here, I assume. Why don't we start with the first one then?
Okay, so why don't we bring Mr. Brame up again, 3374 Wiggins. I believe that is a residential property.
Okay, this is, it's Williams.
Yeah, Mr. Brame from Wiggins Way. And if you, for the parcel number, that is parcel number 22-1734-9.
Let me pull it up for you.
Or did I go out, these are all Walmart. I don't know if I have that one.
Yeah, it's, here. It's the
Oh, I
one-
got it, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, would the clerk swear the witness in, please?
I already did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why doesn't, and I like to do it before each one rather than in general, but which one of you will be, okay, why don't you stand up and we'll swear you in now too?
You can turn his mic on. It's,
Zach Schulte.
yes, right there.
That one?
Yep,
Okay.
there you go.
It's not on yet.
It's right over here.
No. Okay, oh, yeah.
Six. Oh, one more to the right.
This
The
one?
names are wrong on the screen. Apologies for that.
Oh, they are?
Next anyway, you can leave it on.
Yes.
That one says.
There we go,
Okay.
that's on. Okay,
Perfect.
Mr. Alvey, please raise your right hand. Today, do you swear to, in the evidence that you will give, it will be the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you.
Sir, would you state your, why don't you state your name again, spell your last name, and give us your address?
My name is Dennis Brame, and my address is 3374 and 3376 at Wiggins Way, in Green Bay.
Okay. Now, the procedure is you will present your testimony. We, as board members, then can ask you questions. The assessor's office can ask you questions. The assessor will then present their testimony. You'll be able to ask them questions. We will ask them questions, and then you can do a summation.
Okay,
And then we'll vote.
thank you.
Okay? So you may start.
Okay, so I do have handouts here that I'd like to hand out. We need 3 of them, 4 of them, I believe is all you need.
There's 5 board members.
Yes.
Do you have 5?
Thank you. Whoops. Thank you.
Yes, let me, do you want me to go make a copy? No, I got it. I can share. No, I'll be right back.
Oh. Okay, again, thank you for taking the time to listen to me this morning and to share what I have here. And again, the handout, I'll be going over that with you a little bit to support what I believe will be indicating of a fair and equitable value to my property. So I'll start off with just a little bit of, and I don't know how much you want me to ramble, but I want to keep this moving along. So I want to present actual data and facts, and of course, supporting documents. to what I'm gonna present here, which some of that you have in that handout that I just gave you. This started back first part of October, as soon as we got the reassessment form in the mail. I contacted Scott Alve, and I appreciate his time he spent with me, going back and forth, trying to resolve this. But when it got right down to it, I felt that we did not make the progress I wanted to make. Scott did a nice job providing me information, putting things together for me. So with that, I will continue to present my information. And if you take on the first page of my handout there, which is the document that I received from Scott, we worked back and forth, and go back a little bit, when we started this process, of course, I'm somewhat familiar that comparables are a big thing, so I did provide Scott with 3 comparables on Wiggins Way, very close to mine. But again, they weren't recent sales, that type of thing. I presented that to him, he broke it down, we went back and forth a little bit. He did indicate there that with that information, I was a little bit on the high side in our discussion. I just wanted to mention that. So with that, then, of course, continuing on, Scott recommended to get comparables, sales comparables. And then that what I did. I got 3 sales comparables. And with that, sent that to him. He took a look at it. He then responded back. He added actually 2 of his own sales comparables. And those are what on the first page there. He put together that grid work showing those 5 comparables. Again, if you want to know which ones are mine, which one's his, I don't think it makes any difference, but if you want, you can ask. But in that, Scott did all of his calculations and stuff. And again, he's an accountant, he's good with numbers, he calculated, put it all together. And with that, of course, it came back to me. And with that, over on the upper right corner, we can see the estimated fair market value, which is what came to me early on, was $358,100. With that, I felt that was high, so I worked with Scott. And again, with his calculations and with these comparables, he comes back with that, and right underneath the $358,100, comparable market value of $350,700. And at this point in time, I believe that is going to be the fair and equitable assessed value of my property. So that is the data and the information, again, from the assessor's office and his calculations. If we go to the following pages, then I'm going to show and share with you my supporting documents from the state of Wisconsin of Revenue. This is the Wisconsin Department of Revenue 2022 Guide for Property Owners. And on the first page that I have here, page 8, and highlighted down towards the bottom, under recent arm's length sales, under state law, the best indicator of market value is a recent arm's length sale of property provided it is in line with recent arm's length sales of reasonably comparable property, which I believe with these 5 proves that I have those comparables. Going to the second, which is page 20 of that document, and under sources of information listed here, the first 2 don't fit our meeting here today about how to get information, but the third one, which I have highlighted, says sale price of other property comparable to yours is the next best evidence of market value. And going to the third page, which is page 23, under testimony at hearing. To have the assessment reduced, you must provide the property is overassessed compared to sales in this municipality, which I believe, with the support of Scott's document that he provided me, that I am overassessed. And that is the end of my presentation.
Okay, does anyone on the board have any questions of the objector?
It's not clear to me, the $350,700, who created that number?
That was created by Scott, and this grid work, this complete grid work here
Okay.
was emailed me by.
And Scott works with the assessor's office, is that
Yes,
correct?
Scott Halbert.
Okay,
yes.
so that 350,000 is your number.
I noticed here that three of your comparables are all sales in 2021.
Correct.
And as the assessor testified earlier, property values have gone up
Correct.
probably since then,
Yes.
so.
But on that, on the sheet here, if you go down to adjustments, the last valid sale, as far as I can see, sale price time adjustment, there are adjustments in there for that timeline.
Okay. So really, you're objecting to $8,000 in assessed value approximately?
Approximately, yes, that's
Okay.
right.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll hear from the assessor.
So just to clarify then, you're staking your case on your confidence in my ability, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. And these are sale comps of 5 reasonably comparable properties. When we base our models, we don't look at 5, right? This is kind of an illustration when you do sale comps. It's an illustration that we're in line or equitable, right? And when we model, there's an axiom in appraisal that as size goes up, dollar per square foot goes down, and that was your initial point when we talked about it. Of you were more value in your properties, but less dollar per square foot, and that was cool. But when we model, we don't just model on one characteristic; we model on many. And when we look at 5 properties, it gives us a glimpse of what a model looks like. But I mean, Russ mentioned, how many sales did we have over the city? Like 3,000 sales, 3,500 sales, something like that. We don't look at 5 sales. It's kind of like honing in. So we took these 5 sales, that's a snapshot, a glimpse, right? If we add another 5 comparable sales, which I presume there are, it might show maybe a little bit higher, maybe 360 if we add that data in. If we add maybe another 10, 20 sales, 3,000 sales, that's how we start to hone in our values. We're not just looking at 5 sales when we create values, right? So if you were to tell me that your property sold, the state allows a 10% leeway, right? We have to be at 100% of market value plus or minus 10%. If you were to tell me that your property did sell for 350 and we have 358 on that, I'd put a feather in my cap because we're pretty close. That's 98%, right? So I think $8,000 is trivial almost in an assessment. I don't mean to say that your case is trivial, but it's a little quibbling. And I think that, again, based on 5 sales that I did, and yes, I put together for you, it was more, again, as an illustration of how we come to our values, right? So I don't think that this disproves our value per se. I think it is an estimate based on these 5 values, but it keeps us within line. And again, if we add more comparable properties, more sales to it, and we get a better, bigger snapshot, we start to see a better, bigger picture, right? And that's where that 358 number is that better, bigger picture. The 350 is a glimpse. So that's, I can pass out these. I've got some information as well, but I just wanted to start there. Thank you. If you can give him one as well.
Sure.
Thank you. So you will see rather, as you open it up, and as you receive it and open up your property. Page 1 is just a quick kind of a snapshot. It's literally a picture of the property.
Thank you.
And if we go to page 2, we've got the property characteristics. We've got a 29,672 square foot duplex, 2-story. He's also got a shed on the property for what that's worth. And we can go to the next page and see just a general overview cost value of our 358.1. But if you go to page 5, we've got the same sale comps, just in a little different, kind of easier to digest grid. You'll see the stars on comp 1, comp 2, comp 3, stars on comp 2, 4, and 5 are the owner's provided comps. I've included those here. As he pointed out, I also included 2 of my own. And it shows that our dollar per square foot, or general, our value of sales to assessments are in line. Our model is working, is what this points out. And his might be a little bit higher, but if you'll notice the OBI, that's an other building or improvement on a property. He's got a shed, the other ones do not. We're comparing apples to apples in most cases, but on the far right side, we're comparing it to a ranch-style duplex, a one-story. But again, it's evidence that it may not necessarily be comparable to his on a dollar per square foot basis, but on our sale to assessment ratio, we're in line. We're right there. So that's his sale grid, just in a different light. Okay. So on our conclusion of value on the next page is just that I believe that I am accurate. My value is accurate. The following pages, 2 pages, is the market valuation detail. This is essentially how we create the appellant's grid. We look at it's a a sales-backed cost approach is how we model, and we modify our cost model so that we are hitting sales at 100% or thereabouts. So when we do adjustments, we make the comparison properties more similar to the subject property. And we do that by making dollar adjustments and adding square foot to the sale so that it calculates out and stuff. And that's essentially just kind of grand scheme. That's how I create these comparable properties. So that's just in detail. You don't necessarily have to read each line, but conceptually it's add this, subtract this, and you get a value. The final page is just a sketch of the property. And I think Mr. Brame did say that that's pretty accurate anyway, that we are right on characteristic. So that is my case. I think that he's looking for a value that I've already created, and I'm comfortable there. And Russ, it looks like, has.
I guess if I could just reiterate what Scott has said. Bottom line, we're doing mass appraisal of 33,000 parcels. And by state law, we're required to be within 10% of market value. And in this case, we're within 2% of market value, even as acknowledged by the plaintiff. So we've done our job. I mean, we've done our job very well, even according to the objector. So I guess in this case, I would urge the board to sustain our value because, we did really well. I mean, Scott did a good job of explaining, and the fact that the objector used our information to justify the value speaks well of his work. That's really all I have to say.
Do any board members have questions of the assessor office? Sir, go ahead.
So you had mentioned how the differences that the comparables, this one includes a shed. I see that on the objection to the property assessment, that the shed was estimated to have cost $6,000 2 years ago. When I just do rough inflation estimates, it almost seems like that practically accounts for the difference between the requested assessment and your assessment. Is there something to that betterment, that improvement to the property, possibly causing that slight difference in the two?
Yeah, it certainly could be, but I would point out though we are taking that adjustment for the shed on those. But yeah, you're definitely right that one, like on the sale comp that I had, the sheet that I provided on page 5, was it, points out that yes, he has a shed, none of the other ones do. So that certainly could be a good factor there.
Any other questions? Do you have, sir, you can have any questions of the assessor?
Well, just to follow up on the shed, again, yes, I do have the shed, but on the very bottom line of your first page here across, there's a utility shed. There is a $3,000 addition to my property for that shed that the other properties go across. Each property down there shows $3,000, plus that indicates that my value of my property is, they've added in $3,000 to cover that shed.
Okay,
And again, to just follow up on Scott's, yes, I understand, this is a huge process of reassessment. I just can't believe all the variables that are involved or whatever. And with that, how accurate can that be? They tried to make it as accurate as possible. Again, my response here is, again, I'm trying to use data that I had and has been provided to me. I have worked through the assessors. I've gone and followed all the steps or whatever. And again, I've showed you that the Wisconsin Department of Revenue, the pages there indicating that market value is a big deal. That is, as far as I can see, they are indicating that is a very well used to be fair and equitable. With that, I'd like to be less than the 350,000. There's no doubt about that. But again, using data, this is what I have. Between Scott and I working together, have come up with those numbers. And with that, I would request that you would acknowledge that it's actually $7,400 between the 358,100 and my 350,700. Again, that has been provided through these comparables of sales, which is a benchmark for coming up with these values.
okay, thank you. I would now entertain a motion to approve the assessor's evaluation of partial 22-17734-9, 3374 to 3376 Wiggins Way, assessed land value 53,200, land improvement 304,900, for a total assessed value of 358,100. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Would the clerk take the roll?
Yes, thank you. So I have a first and second by Mr. Sharp and Mr. Blumrick. Mr. Azier?
Yes?
Mr. Antino?
Aye.
Mr. Druzbicki?
Aye.
Mr. Sharp?
Aye.
Mr. Blumrick?
Aye.
That passes 5-0.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay. And, Mr. Chairperson, if you would be so kind, next we have 132 Blythe Street. I did not see a parcel number on that one. That is from Mr. Linsmeyer. Mr. Linsmeyer?
Good morning. I'm actually on the Zoom call.
Okay. All right, Mr. Linsmeyer. If you would just put your camera on?
Let me try to do this without losing.
That's okay. We can do this,
Oh, here it is, right up.
in an audio way. So, Mr. Linsmeyer, if you just raise your hand, right hand, and do you swear to tell the truth and the evidence that you're going to give today in this matter?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, first of all, we'll need a waiver to allow telephone testimony. Do we have a motion to allow the waiver?
Second.
Do we have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Sir, would you state your full name, spell your last name, and provide us with the address and partial number if you have it?
Yes. So Chase Linsmeyer, last name is Linsmeyer. It's 132 Blythe Street, and the parcel number is 6-1884.
Thank you.
What street was that?
Blythe.
Okay, go ahead with your testimony, please.
Yeah, so some of the information that might not be relevant, but I'll quickly breeze through, because I think it backs up a little bit of the end story. So 2004 assessment, I purchased the house in 2009 for 17% less. Tried to sell this property multiple times. The best offer I received was 105. I actually accepted that offer, and that offer fell through. So what I did is, working with Alex Drews, I provided them 11 houses in that area that sold between 2019 and 2022. Knowing that housing market fluctuates with other markets, and there's a lot of factors that go into that. We talked through that mass assessment, the 33,000 homes, using calculations to figure out those assessments based off of quite a few factors. So I provided him 11. We went back and forth. I based some stuff out of the square foot because I was told that the information to put this assessment together typically doesn't get sent out during these appeals or these contestments. Basically was told that, hey, I can request for public record because it will be available, but within the time frame, you probably won't receive that. So provided them those 11 houses within arm's reach. We couldn't come up with a agreement on or any movement in that assessed value. So what I did is I went through your 2022 completed real estate assessment roll. Found some houses in the neighborhood that are very similar to mine, and kind of basing my thoughts off of these houses and what you assessed them for in 2022. And really that's all I have. The key components of my argument are, trying to sell the house, not getting anywhere close to the 143.3, and the 2022 completed real estate assessment.
Okay. Any board members have any questions of the objector?
You got an accepted offer of 105 in 2018, is that correct?
It was, yep.
Okay.
Any other questions from the assessor's office? Who's testifying for the assessor? Why don't you be sworn in by the clerk? Oh, yeah.
Swear that the evidence you'll give in this matter will be the truth. Dr. Dunn. Thank you.
Okay. Do you have any questions of the objector before your presentation?
I guess I don't have any questions for him at this time, but I'm ready to go through.
Okay.
Through my testimony.
Go ahead.
Yep, I have some packets here to distribute. Thanks.
Thank you.
So looking at this form, it's going to be very similar to the one that Scott distributed for his property. The front page is a glimpse of the home. It's a ranch. I guess just we'll walk through the form, or the report, I should say.
Wait a minute.
On page 3, it gives the property information. It's a residential property, ranch, 1,040 square feet, built in '64. It has a garage and a shed, and the land improvement and total value is there, so we're at $143,300. And going to page 5, it'll list the comps. I guess I'll briefly touch on Chase's provided comps. He did provide me with the 11 properties, and I went through those with him and discussed the validity of those. You'll find those on the last page of the packet, and I have some notes on each one of the sales that he provided. and if you guys want to go through that, we can. But there were two sales on there that I thought were good comparables, and those are comps 4 and 5 on the on page 5 where I have the comps listed. I guess we'll just start with the comps here. Each one of these are ranches within, they're close in age, close in the square footage. Each one of them's 3 bedrooms. Each one's 1 bath, with the exception of comp 3, there's 2 bathrooms. Comp 5, there's 2. You can see the other information there. What I'd like to highlight is the assessed value of 143 divided by the square feet. We're coming up with 138 price per square foot, and I'd like to use that as a kind of a baseline on what our assessment looks like in comparison to the sales. So the first comp we have sold at the sale was $160,000 in 2021. Divided by the square footage, we're at 147 price per square foot, so we're above the assessment. The next sale is $164,000. That divided by the square feet, we're at 171. The third one sold, and the first one sold in 21. The second one sold in 2020, and the third one sold in 2020 as well for 185. Divided by the square feet, we're at 169. And then the last 2 comps provided by the owner sold for 133. I'd like to point out that sale was in 2020, so as Russ illustrated, values did go up since then. And we do have a time adjustment down there. And that price per square foot was 139, which is in line with the assessment. And comp 5 sold for 137, 835 in 2020, and our price per square foot on that was 144. So our comps here are all at or above the assessment, so I believe that they're in line. His assessed value is in line with recent sales.
Okay, thank you. Any board members have any questions of the assessor?
Just to make sure I understand this correctly, even if we don't adjust for time, they all come in above? At more?
Yep, the price per square foot was calculated by using the sale price, not the adjusted sale price.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Sir, do you have any questions of the assessor? Mr. Linsmeyer?
I think he went out of the meeting. He's not in the waiting room.
We can still proceed.
Okay. Okay. Okay, I would now entertain a motion. Is he back?
Yeah, he must
Okay.
have.
Mr. Linsmeyer?
Hold on one second. Mr. Asia, let me just
Admit him. It'll take him a moment to join. Okay, just give him a moment. Okay. Mr. Linsmeyer, can you hear us?
Yes, I apologize. For some reason, Zoom crashed on me.
That's
So.
quite all right. So I believe Mr. Asia had asked you a question.
Yes, do you have any questions of the assessor's office? Did you hear the assessor's presentation?
I heard a portion of it. I guess I don't have any questions of him.
Okay.
I would like to bring up the actual 2022 completed real estate assessment roll with properties in the area that are similar to mine. One actually has a 2-stall attached garage. Then a few other that are actually on Blythe Street that are assessed at quite a bit lower than my property.
No, you can't. You've already made your presentation, so now you
Okay.
can, yeah.
Okay.
Alrighty. Nothing else?
No, nothing else.
Okay. Then I would entertain a motion to accept the assessor's office evaluation of partial 6-1884, 132 Blythe Street, land value 25,700, assessed improved value 117,600, for a total assessed value of 143,300.
So moved. Second.
Would the clerk call the roll?
Thank you, Your Honor. That was moved by Mr. Blumerick and seconded by Mr. Drewzwicki.
The other way.
The other way around. Just give me one moment. Okay. Mr. Asia?
Aye.
Mr. Antino?
Aye.
Mr. Drewzwicki?
Aye.
Mr. Sharp?
Aye.
And Mr. Blumerick.
Aye.
That passes 5-0.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Linsmeyer.
Thank you.
Okay, and next, Mr. Chairperson, we have our two remaining properties, Lowell Drive and 1643 Western. So on Lowell Drive, the parcel number is 25-145-4.
Okay.
And, are you Lowell Drive or Western Avenue? Yes.
I also had my personal residence,
Oh.
1209 Florida Street. That's not the letter. And I spoke with Andrew.
1209 Thorndale. Let's just, so which one are you, 1673 or Lowell Drive?
Lowell Drive.
Lowell Drive. Okay, so let's take Lowell Drive, 25-145-4.
I got 21-145.
I'm sorry?
21-145.
Oh, 21, okay, yes,
I
please.
think that was with my, the lot next to us.
25-145-4?
There are two objections by two separate owners on Lowell Drive. Are you Matt?
Yes.
Okay, so this one would be, 21-145-4-2. Celestine, I believe I sent you an email regarding this one because I didn't see it on your list, but I do know he has submitted an inspection form for his commercial property. I have not seen a residential one.
Yeah, I don't see the Thorndale one at all.
Yeah, our office has not.
Oh, 21-145-4, that one I have. And then, okay, English properties. I think I only have the one from Lowell.
They're both on the one drive. I see it's Lowell Drive 1.
One, yeah, but those are, they're the, yeah, they're not, those are the same.
I can pull the objection form and have it saved on our computer, on my computer.
Yeah, just send it to me.
Yeah.
Is that my city email?
You have the clerk at, or you?
No,
want
no,
to-
Celestine.Jeffries. Just give us a moment.
Yep.
Am I, we have three partials, is that right?
For Lowell Drive? No.
Well, we got one on Lowell Drive, but then this sheet here talks about Ontario. Is that connected to the Lowell Drive properties? No.
Comparison for the.
Yeah, that's what he submitted.
Oh, okay.
His comparisons, right, on Ontario Road, those are images he provided?
That was from Mike Budzis, not
I was
myself.
just gonna say, I think we're two separate cases here.
He had to
I
leave,
don't think we
he didn't realize how long it'd take and had to step out, so.
Mike, yes.
We just have that
NMRE
one
properties.
partial.
Yeah, this isn't for this one.
Right.
They're pulling up the information.
Okay,
-2, correct? I'm sending that.
we can start
Because
this.
there was two, yes, with this gentleman, we have his information.
Yes, there are two for Lowell Drive.
Two in the same.
24-145-4, right, but you're 21 dash,
21-145-4-2.
okay,
I am it's doing the sending to you.
okay.
So it's in the outbox anyway, it'll get to you shortly. But I did pull it up if you want to look at it.
No, let me just,
That's fine.
The dash four one is the 29,000, right? And what's the other one? Is that the 57,840? partial?
Sorry,
The address is 2955 Lowell Drive.
so that one doesn't have, so there's one from NMRE Properties, that's who submitted it. And that is not the one that, he is here for. There's another one, 21-145-4, which I just have the image, I don't have the objection form, so Scott sent me the objection form. There's an objection form for 24-145-4.
Okay,
And that's, the assessment
We don't have
value is
to see this is the only
287,
thing we got.
and then the opinion of the assessment is 150. That's NMRE Properties.
For his, do you want me, should we print should we print copies of the objection?
Yeah, it's
The board.
not coming through, of course.
So, my Outlook is actually saying that it's not connecting properly for some reason.
Oh,
If you want to make copies, I have it here.
Okay, perfect. I'm sure it'll be the same and you can verify
Thank you
that.
so
I
much.
can pull it up here.
WGNR.
If you want to verify it as identical
Yes,
in every way. Yes.
and so, okay, I'll be back. Wait, let me swear this gentleman in, so you can all begin while I make copies. Do you swear that the evidence you'll give today will be the truth? So help you God.
Yes.
Thank you.
would you please spell your name, or state your name, spell your last name, and the address that you're testifying about?
Matt Pearson, MATTPEARSON. I'm speaking on behalf of WGNR Furniture Company.
Okay. Go ahead and, you can present your testimony. The board members can then ask questions if we have any. The assessor's office can ask questions. They'll then present their testimony, and then the board and you both will have can have opportunities to ask questions of the assessor.
Yep.
And then, okay?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'm actually going to use Mike's email that he sent regarding the two properties that remain within the same block as our parcel. That sold for $29,000 on March 19th, 2020. And then another lot that sold for $57,840 in September 29th, 2020. And our value for our lot went up from $58,300 to $179,700. We also had this lot for sale between 2009 and 2018 for $120,000 with 0 inquiries into purchasing.
I don't understand.
So what I'd just like to understand is, and I did talk to Nicole on this property, but I would like to see the comparables that were used to come up with our new assessment and kind of base it off of that. Thanks. And one of the arguments Nicole made yesterday when I spoke to her was that the sale of the parcel that is $29,000 was not a typical sale or a normal sale. I did talk to the owner of that parcel, and he purchased that from a bank from Indiana under typical circumstances. I believe they purchased it from Anchor Bank in a foreclosure before that, but when he purchased the property, it was a typical sale process.
Okay, I guess the assessed value is 179.7, correct?
Today's, yes.
And what do you believe the assessed value should be?
I had it listed for the $58,300.
58,000?
Yes. I guess $299 is what I wrote on the form.
Okay, then on, Your property is the one at the top then, the 57,840? On the picture here? Because then you indicated that the other parcel was sold for 29,000?
Yes, our property is actually WGR Furniture to the right.
Oh, the right, okay.
Looking at the sheet here, it's not highlighted. 'Cause
Okay.
This was an email from Mike, the other lot over there.
Yes. Do you swear in the evidence you'll give today, in this matter, that you will tell the whole truth, so help you God?
Does anyone have any questions of the objector?
I've got a question here. So in 2018, you said the property was listed for $120,000?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll hear from, you've been sworn in, right? Okay.
Hit her microphone, the one just to the right.
Yeah, this one there.
Yes, that one.
There we go. Thank you.
All right, so you will see on this map here on the front page, we are discussing parcel 21-145-4-2, which is 2955 Lowell Drive. It is a 65,000 square foot lot, approximately 1.5 acres. It's vacant, and the assessed value on it is $179,700. On the second page, what I put together is kind of what Matt was asking for, is a list of vacant land sales that we use. So we were fortunate enough to have a decent amount of land sales out in the industrial park. Sure. So we had a number of land sales in the industrial park to model our land model off of. And I've included 6 of them for you at the top that I think are the best to use in terms of comparability. And you'll note that the subject one is the first one listed. So you can kind of see based on the size what we're at dollar per square foot, and that is $275 a square foot. The next couple ones listed here, the first one is on Huron Road. It's a typical lot, meaning it does not have visibility to the highway. It does not have frontage on Mason Street. So it is a typical interior lot, just like the subject. That one is smaller, and it sold in 2021 for $100,000, or $294 a square foot. The second one on Huron Road, same thing, a typical lot, 2 acres. That one sold in 2017 for $300,000, which was $344 a square foot. And the next one I'll read here, the one on Huron Road, item 3, that's 4.5 acres. That sold in 2020. It was $300,000. That sold for $152 a square foot. The basis of providing this chart is to show you the same process that we take to set up our land models. And that was used to assess all of the properties in the industrial park. So they are all valued consistently based on size and their visibility and their locations. A couple of these on here, I will point out, I included them. They are larger, so not as comparable to the subject property, or they have visibility on Mason or visibility on Highway 43, which does impact the desirability of the lot. I've also made a couple notes on these on item or sale comp 4. That one is particularly low. There's a reason for that. There was wooded wetlands area. A lot of it is low, not as a desirable of a lot. And then item 6, the other note I have on here, that included 24 acres of ag land for development. So that one is being used for agricultural purposes, or was at the time of sale. I also included some listings too, but again, we don't model based off of that. We look at it as a reference point. It's not necessarily what we base our land value off of. And then the third page here, it just, if it just at all helpful, it kind of gives you the location of each of these comparables. And the dollar amount you'll see on there is the dollar per square foot as comparison. You'll notice the subject property has a star on it. That is the location of the property we're talking about. You can see it in relation to size, as well as its position in the industrial park. And that one is sitting at $275 a square foot, which I feel is in line with what my sales show me, as well as what we've assessed all the other properties in that park.
Do any board members have any questions of the assessor? Sir, you may ask.
I do notice that the two parcels that I mentioned are not part of that modeling. Is there a reason why those are not included?
Correct, yep. I apologize for not mentioning that, and I kind of talked to you in our email as well. The parcel right next to you, I believe, is the one that sold for $29,000. You yourself mentioned that was from a bank. We typically don't consider those to be good indicators of market value. Additionally, if I were to put that on this sheet, you would see it's clearly an outlier. It does not conform with the rest of the sales that I have. The other one you had mentioned, which is just to the north of that, you can kind of see it on the upper corner of the front page. It's a larger lot. It has a tower on it, and I believe that sale was between two related entities. So again, we wouldn't use that sale as a comparable to your property or any other properties when we're modeling.
Yeah. That just seems a little strange to me because that's two lots that are within the same block of our lot that aren't being used, but we're using other lots that are in the surrounding area. To me, it seems strange that they wouldn't be considered as part of the.
Well, they're considered, but we consider them to be not market sales. We look at all of the sales, not just those two. And yes, they're in proximity, yes, but in terms of reliable indicators of market value, we don't believe that those two sales represent that.
Why is that?
That's what they did sell for.
Again, because one of them was from a bank and the
Oh,
other
okay,
one
yeah, it
is
was a bank,
related
yeah.
parties. So
Yeah.
we look at every sale that comes through
Yeah.
to determine, is it typical? Is it an arm's length sale?
Yeah.
And we determine, in looking at the bigger picture, does it conform? Because we have sales that range all over the place. We're trying to find what's normal
Yeah.
and not look at the outliers. We don't model on outlying sales, so.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I have a question for Mr. Pearson.
Sure.
So on the objection form, you indicate and crossed out that the property was listed or offered for sale, and then left a check mark that it was not listed for sale. And earlier, I heard you say that it was offered for, what, 120,000?
Yes.
So
Between
which,
2000, I got that information from our previous broker, that it was on, or for sale during 2009, and then at some point in 2018, they took it off. So I just took that off the letter here, because I'm not sure why I did that.
so it was listed, but the listing expired in 2018?
Yes.
And the 120 was the 2018 list price?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Russ.
I guess we don't have the evidence that it was listed. My indications from the office and what we looked into was the fact that the only signage on it was a for sale sign, basically by owner on it. It was not listed through a broker or any type of real estate agency. So that's a little bit different than having it listed professionally.
Subject property or one of the comparables?
No, the actual property itself.
Okay.
From my understanding, it was listed through RE Commercial with Todd DeVillers.
Yes.
Just to kind of add to that, we do a lot of research to look for listings, and that's not one that we came across. And maybe it's just because of the age, with it being in 2018.
Right.
But we typically do monitor a number of real estate websites to find listings, to put that in there so we're aware of them. But to that, I would even add, we're talking about a listing. We are reactionary. We look at sales, and that's what we're modeling off of, not a listing or a perspective. So,
You can find a flyer on LoopNet through that agency.
Okay.
But it is old.
okay.
I don't know how
Any other
relevant it is.
questions? Yes, Ron?
Question, is there a trend or, how do these business parks fit in? You know, trends for up and down and value or whatever, rather than just typical comparables. I mean, I'm just wondering where that's at, because when we devised the business park, we expected the values to be going way up, and that's what we were, at that time I voted on it, and I just was wondering, do we have any trends on business parks in general?
I mean, in terms of the increase within that particular park, is that what you're asking?
Yeah, the values.
The values, they've increased, certainly,
I mean,
along with the other commercial property, and a lot of that's gonna be improved properties and the land value, just based on, again, what I've shown you in the listing of sales. Those are all pretty recent sales that indicate that the land value is worth more than what was on it previously in 2004. So, yes, it's trended up, just like everything else in the city over time, so. I don't know if that answers your question.
You know, wondering about we're increasing jobs values. I know you don't look at jobs and stuff.
Yeah,
but
I can't speak to that.
But I mean, we're trying to look at, are the values going up more than like residential and that type of thing? I mean, that's what we were looking at when we were talking to GP and Green Bay Packaging and things like that, which isn't directly, but I'm just looking if you have a trend for light industrial business parks, things like that, how it trends overall. It doesn't directly even relate to this, I guess, but, you know, just.
That perhaps something we could discuss after board. Certainly, I could talk to Russ and discuss that further if you want.
Just curious.
Sure.
Any other questions? Okay, I would entertain a motion to accept the assessor's evaluation of partial 21-145-4-2, 2955 Lowell Drive, assessed land value of $179,700. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Would the clerk call the roll?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Just give me a moment. Mr. Asia?
Aye.
Mr. Antonow?
Aye.
Mr. Drewzwicki?
Aye.
Mr. Sharp?
Aye.
Mr. Blumrick?
Aye.
That passes 5-0.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Am I going to be able to speak on my residential property?
No, I don't, unless the assessors have something from, did you say 1209 Thorndale?
Correct.
I do not have anything from 1209 Thorndale. An objection form?
So we did receive, it went to the clerk's front office desk. I just checked my email because we didn't have this on the agenda. It's coming as a surprise to me. So I did do some looking in our inbox, and something did come in on October 11th to the clerk's front office desk, and it wasn't on our agenda. So I guess I'd like to request some sort of recess so we can prepare to hear him.
Sure.
We do, actually. We have one final property. So we have the other Lowell Drive property, and then we have I don't have a parcel number, 1643 Western from submitted by E&P Properties. So we have those two.
Did that property owner contact you at all? I spoke with him yesterday, and I do not believe he is coming.
Mr. Martin from 1640, he did not. We received an email, but it wasn't, I withdraw. so.
All right.
But, you know, so I didn't understand that he was withdrawing.
So he's not here? He's not gonna present?
Well, I spoke to him yesterday and he said he wasn't, so.
Was
but
not.
But I don't, yeah, he signed waiver forms, emailed them back to me, and then I just informed him that if he didn't wish to appear anymore, to notify the clerk so that she didn't schedule a time for him.
Okay.
That's where it's at this point.
Do we have any other ones right now scheduled?
No, other than the other Lowell Drive one. And then, so if E&P is off, then the Thorndale property. Yeah, we have to fix that clerk app because I don't get those right away.
Okay,
So-
well then so we could take a break now then, right?
Yeah, we
Why don't we
certainly can.
take a break and let you go get what you need for the other Lowell property?
No, that
No,
one I
for
prepared.
Thorndale property, okay?
Recess for a time.
Yeah, why don't we do, how much time would you need?
Say half hour.
Okay, we'll give you half an hour.
Half an hour, okay.
Back at 11:20?
Yeah, we'll come back at 11, what time is it, 11:20?
10:50.
Yeah. What about all these other ones that I have?
Yes.
Are they,
Yes.
okay.
See.
I didn't fill out nothing else back there. I didn't think
You have
nothing
We got this toy, what about the toy box
I gave you
storage?
a copy of your social
That one
security
seems to be,
It's on the back.
It's in the back. Oh, okay, perfect. You know, it's the Fed, so you have a direct deposit check.
Gotcha.
Mayor, there you go. And then the board.
You have to turn on the mic.
Yep, the podium as well.
Turn them all on.
The podium
Right
is all the
there?
way, yep, yes. Hit the microphone. There you
There we
go,
go.
perfect.
I think we got all those. And then we need, well, we'll see which one's gonna testify. Who's testifying on this one? Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's him, right?
Is it,
It's
on. Yep, my mic's on.
oh,
Okay, good.
Just give me one. So I want to get Russ on there. Okay, and that, okay.
I think you're selecting
All right, and then,
To make up for how we sound.
oh, no, it's not.
Oh, gee.
I'm not sure.
What's this big one here?
That's basically.
I was, yeah.
Should I
yeah,
leave it on?
We want to be recording,
Oh, okay.
actually want to be recording what's on the podium.
Budget meetings every night, last week and this week.
I want that on, yeah, okay, and that's fine.
Russ, are you back?
Yeah, he did send me a message saying that there wasn't any audio. I don't know.
Yes, Russ, can you hear us now?
It was muted while we were out, not.
Oh, here we go. Unmute. Russ, can you hear us now?
Commercial, can you?
Yeah.
I can.
Okay.
Great. Okay. Do we get a, do we have a partial number on this one? We have the sheet now, the
Oh,
objection
yes.
sheet.
I do not see a parcel number.
Do you have a
your-
partial number?
Home.
Yes, it's 1-2171.
2-1.
And I have packets ready to distribute as well.
Why don't you bring those up now, would you? It would be helpful to have them while he's testifying.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Nearby.
Okay, sir, remember that you've been sworn in already, you're still under oath. Why don't you give us your name, spell your last name again, and then the address of which you're testifying to.
Matt Pearson, MattPearson. Property is 1209 Thorndale Street.
Okay, thank you. You may start your presentation.
Yeah, I'm just coming to look at this from an angle where I had my home appraised in 2020. I'm an independent appraiser, which came in at $197,000. And then this assessment jumped our land value up from 19,100 to 143,400, a 650% increase of the land value. So I just wanted to get an understanding of how an independent appraiser's value isn't looked at compared to the city's assessors. And if we can come to a better agreement as far as the increase in that.
What was your appraisal for?
Refinance.
Okay, well, that makes a difference.
How's that?
Appraisals for refis are different than if you were going to sell your house and get an appraisal. They're looking, a lot of appraisers are coming in, making sure that you get the values you need for the loan that you're going to be asking for, rather than a resale appraised out value. That's why we kind of look at those differently. We, meaning the board and the assessor's office, looks at those, the appraisals for refis. just looked at differently.
I don't know if that's true, but okay. Because they don't know what loan I was looking for to commit to.
Well, it would be like, you know, there's some exceptions to, you could sell your house to your son for a price, and that's not an arm length deal, and we would not probably use, I mean, if that price came in so under the assessed value of your property, they would not use that as a comparable because it's not a arm's length deal. Same thing with appraisals for refis. They're there for refis, not for what the actual value of the house may be. Not saying it couldn't be close, not saying that you might not be able to use it to sell it. We're just saying we look at it, they look at it a little bit differently. Yeah, wait a minute, Russ, we're not to you yet, okay?
The difference I'm seeing is an independent appraiser is using houses within that market, but not necessarily on that street. Whereas the city is using all sales that are directly on that street and not taking any of the other market into consideration. And then that's just creating a huge increase in the tax base for this particular resident.
Well, we can get to that a little bit later, but, okay, do you have anything else you want to present before we ask you questions? And then we'll let Russ ask you a question?
No, go ahead.
Okay, anybody else have any questions? Okay, Russ?
I guess one of the main things that, and we've talked about this in the past, is that we generally don't look at appraisals in the board of review unless the appraiser is there to answer questions, and that could be probably cleared up. And to your point, Tom, exactly, the reason why we don't look at refi appraisals is exactly what you stated, is that they're generally only looking to cover the amount that the bank's looking to invest. And because of that reason, they aren't going to look at those higher numbers because the banks generally don't want to have a lot more invested in that property than what the mortgage is for. So the reason why they didn't use a lot of those properties that are on that same street is because the market value is higher than what your mortgage is. And we're looking at market value in setting our assessment, or a percentage of market value in our case. That's why we use the other comparable properties that are establishing market value, which is all on your street. So that's what we're tasked to do by state law, is look at market value. And that's what Alex has done in his assessment. And he'll get to that right now and show you which properties that he used to come up with that assessment. So to say that, why wouldn't we look at other properties? Well, the market is those properties on that street that directly impact what people would pay for a similar property. So I'll let him finish and show the properties to the board that he used to come up with that value.
Thank you.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
Actually. At the time you refinanced, are you willing to disclose how much you had refinanced for? And what the amount of the loan was at that time?
I actually refinanced twice that year. So I'm not exactly sure what it was on that second round. But I initially purchased a home for $135,000 in 2017.
Okay.
So begin my testimony. Can you guys hear me all right? Okay. So
You've been, did she swear you in?
Yes.
Previously,
Yes, I've been
right?
sworn in.
Okay.
All right, so 1209 Thorndale. Here's just a quick report that we ran, similar to the other ones we've looked at. We have a total assessment of $277,400. Also, with your reports, here is a map of the surrounding neighborhood. It's kind of, we're calling it a heat map. And these are some of the adjustments that we made to the land values. Because these sales that have occurred in the last couple of years have told us that the land values have increased due to the proximity to the stadium. And I'll go over some sales that would support that. So page 5, is another, a comp sheet. And I'll just go through it quickly. 12, and these are all comparables that are on the same street. They're all in Thorndale. The first one listed, it sold for $285,000 in August of 2020. Again, we can talk about the time adjustment. Russ did mention the average increase of homes since 2020. But regardless, the sale was $285,000 down the street from them. Moving on to the next one, 1267 Thorndale. That one sold for $277,500 in 2021, January. And the third comp, I'd like to point out that it's a colonial, just as the subject, similar age, pretty similar square footage, and that sold for $285,900 in December of 2020.
282.5.
Oh, I was looking at the assessment, sorry, thanks. 282,500 was the sale on that. So I guess as you can see here, these are, we looked at all the sales that were in that area when we came up with our assessments. There were many, and these are just a few, you know, specifically on his street that sold, that our assessment is in line with those.
Okay. Do you have any questions of the assessor?
Yeah, just one question. I know you guys said you're gonna do assessments more frequently, maybe every 5 years, whatever it is. What is typical in the region or nationally that reassessments do occur on residential properties or commercial, for that instance? What do typical municipalities do?
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
What do typical municipalities do as far as reassessments on properties? Is it every 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? Or when does that typically occur? Seeing this one went from 2004.
Russ, can you answer that?
It all depends upon budgets and so on. Municipalities generally do it like every 10 years. Some municipalities do it every 5 years. It all depends upon the size of the staff, the size of the municipality, and local budgets. It varies, so there isn't really an average. We will probably, moving forward, do it every 5 to 6 years in Green Bay, just because we're now on a system that allows us to do so. Previously, we weren't. So now we'll be going forward doing that, and we'll be taking fluctuations in the market into consideration. If the market does tank, we'll be able to take that into consideration a lot more quickly than it would be if we didn't have a newer system that like we do. So if the market does tank over the next 4 or 5 years, we'll be able to take that into consideration if that does happen, or if the Packers tank for that reason. So if that's what you're alluding to, because I can see an 8-8 season or 8-9 season coming up the way things are going. So, but that's another topic. But I think to your question, yeah, most communities, I know Appleton does it like every 5 years or so. A lot of communities wait until they're out of compliance. We were just out of compliance this past year, so we're lucky in that manner. So we didn't have to spend the money until this past year, couple of years, to get back into compliance. Smaller communities do it like every 5 to 7 years. Larger communities, it takes longer because there's more parcels to deal with. 33,000 parcels with a staff of 5, it just takes longer to do the work. So we're hoping 5 to 6 years going down the line.
Okay.
You know, you don't have to wait until there's a total reval to file an objection to your appraised value, or assessed value. You can do that every year. You can, when there's open book, you can go into the assessor's office and present evidence why you think your assessed value should be lower than it is. So that's something that you can do every year.
Okay.
And then you can always come back before us if you don't like what they.
I'm just trying to get a better understanding of how the process worked. And,
Any questions of the assessor?
On the subject on page 5, I noticed that there's nothing listed for basement finish, but on the on the property owner's list, he indicates that the basement is finished. Just, are you able to speak to that?
Sure. So we have the assessments, the assessed value broken down there, and the difference in that would reflect the differences in the characteristics of the homes, like basement finish. One second. Oh, no, you're good. Yeah, there are other things that go into it. I highlighted the main ones on this comp sheet, and forgive me for the short notice here of putting it together, but I wanted to highlight the overall sales, just indicating our value.
Is it true that if the basement is finished and opens to the outside, that then the value of that is higher than if it doesn't?
I guess what we consider finished basement living area into the square footage, it has to do with specifically if it's necessary for the home. So if it's like a bi-level where the basement is kind of into the construction of that home, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's essential to that home. We would pick it up as a rec room even if it's a really nice quality basement finish. We would still call it a rec room, but not livable area or square footage.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
I just had one question.
Yeah.
I believe I spoke with Alex on how the tax window works, or how the tax, it's not gonna be 100% of the tax value?
No.
Can you explain to me what kind of
we don't know what.
Until you the
You won't know, yeah, you don't know what percent, just because your assessed value goes up doesn't necessarily mean that your taxes are gonna go up, because your taxes are all based upon the mill rate whenever that's set, and we don't really know what that's going to be yet, so.
Sorry. Diana, did you want to speak to that?
Sure. I mean, I'm going to confirm what the gentleman has just said. The city of Green Bay has just proposed their mill rate. The city of Green Bay is only their portion of the mill rate, and it will be going into the public notice that will come out on Friday. But as the total mill rate that is used to calculate your assessment is made up of 4 municipalities. The city is 39% of that. Green Bay Schools is 41%. Then you have county is 17%, and your NWTC is 3%. So that makes up your total mill rate that you calculate towards your valuation. So we can guarantee that the mill rate will be lower, but it'll be multiplied times your higher assessed rate. This again, what happens to the city's mill rate has been proposed that it will go public on Friday, and then in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we will be getting the levies from the other 3 municipalities. By November 10th, we will have a final mill rate. You'll be able to take that mill rate multiplied times your new assessed, and that will give you, tell you what your tax, roughly what your tax bill will be for 2022, which will be issued in December of 22, and then will be due in next year, 2023.
Okay.
Not sure if that is answers, or if you have any more questions on that.
Okay.
Nope, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, any other comments, suggestions, questions, anything from the board? All right, then I would entertain a motion that, that we accept the assessor's office assessed value of partial 1-2171, 1209 Thorndale Street, assessed land value $143,400, improved value $134,000 for a total of $277,400. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Would the clerk call the roll?
Yes, thank you. That was first and seconded by Mr. Blumreich and Mr. Antono. Mr. Azier?
Yes.
Mr. Antono?
Aye.
Mr. Drzewiecki?
Aye.
Mr. Sharp?
Aye.
Mr. Blumreich?
Aye.
That passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Do we have anything else now scheduled, or?
So the last thing is the other Lowell Drive, 25-145-4, the NMRE properties, that submission. Yeah, I don't think the person is here. Yeah. So, I mean, I think we should consider it, even though he's not here. Yes. So that is, like I said, that is NMRE Properties.
Oh, MMR, yeah.
That's 25-145-2.
If they're not here to present.
Then we can't consider it?
What about ENP Properties? Did
So
we
they withdrew?
withdrew? They withdrew,
According to
okay.
Assessor Tesh, they withdrew.
And this is the only one that didn't show then, right? Okay.
Okay. Well, then I don't have any other.
Yeah. Did they receive time to appear, the one that's not here yet?
No, the gentleman from NMRE Properties was here and he left.
Oh, okay. So I guess we can assume he's not coming back?
He did not. Why'd he go? I'm ready.
Okay. Okay.
So we should or should not consider validating the assessor's valuation?
I think, Miss Attorney Cochard is going to just double check that
Okay.
for us. Thank you, Mr. Blumrock. That's true.
Honestly, the evidence that he's going to present is going to be the same as the previous gentleman, because the previous gentleman used his evidence to present his case that you decided to sustain the assessor's assessment. So I think they probably had a conversation and he decided not to come back because it would be futile in his mind, because it's the same argument.
So even though he isn't sworn in or appearing, we have the document before us. I'm wondering whether we should validate the assessor's number.
I don't think you can have a hearing if there isn't a plaintiff or an objector there. So that I would strongly suggest that you don't hold a hearing without an objector.
Well, you need sworn testimony anyway.
Yeah, Russ, I was just gonna say that I think you would have had to have submitted a waiver for written testimony in order to
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
hear it. So we
Okay.
don't have, if we don't have a waiver of written testimony, I don't think we can consider the documents that
Okay.
are provided, and the objection is just the form.
Okay.
So,
Got it.
Works for me.
Then I don't have any other property owners who've submitted objections.
We don't have any real property to discuss?
Oh, personal property?
Personal property? No?
No. Yeah.
Holy cow. Okay.
Good thing you're sitting down, Tom.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, but I want to adjourn in honor of the assessor and the clerk and the staff, which I think did a hell of a job.
Yeah. Here.
They did.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have a second for adjournment?
Second.
Okay, all in
Actually,
favor?
I want to point out one thing to everybody that's not familiar. Mr. Bloomreich there is responsible for the revaluation because he's the one that initially hired me. So all fingers point back at him.
If that's good, I agree. If it's not good, we already moved.
Well, and
to
now that you've just announced that in a public meeting, Mr. Schwant.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you next year, probably.
See you, Russ.
Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you for
Appreciate it.
making this very short, Russ.
Oh, no, it was my staff. It was all my staff. They're excellent.
Yeah, it's recycling. You got it. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Good job, guys. I see the smiley face had absolutely nothing to do today, did he? The pretty boy, just stand there. Huh? Oh, you gotta turn all those off.